Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you're watching or listening to this, and welcome to Link Up Leaders, your direct link to leaders in supply chain and e-commerce. My name is Lisa Kinski. I'm your producer and co-host, and joined as always by Francois Jeffrey. Francois, good morning. You are frozen, maybe?
Yeah. Do you hear me at least?
I hear you now. Yes,
Okay.
welcome back.
It's the shirt. I think it threw off the camera. It's throwing everything off. But yeah, no, I'm doing great.
StreamYard said, this man's in vacation mode. We can't do this podcast. No.
Well, it's a glorious Friday. I mean, we are having a great second half of the week. And I just looked in my closet this morning. I was like, I haven't worn that shirt maybe ever. I don't know. I might have worn it in Cancun for like a short time until Kate told me to rip it off immediately because she hates it. So I was like, you know what? I was like, today is the day. Today is a great day. We're talking about supply chain, one of my favorite topics of conversation, first of all. Indeed. You know that.
I do. Anybody who listens to the show knows that, I think.
How about you? How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm sleepy, but I'm good. I'm
Good.
PTO the rest of the day, helping my fam with some stuff and have a very busy weekend ahead of me. But it is 9 a.m. on a Friday. We don't usually do shows this early. We also have a show at 9 a.m. on a Monday. That one is going to be requiring much coffee. It's going to be great, but it's going to require so much coffee. It's not even funny. And I just found like a little fun thing to play with. I don't know. I always have something to mess with.
Cooperative shirt.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. Yeah, so it's funny.
That's a nice shirt.
Did you not get one of these in Miami? No, because
you go to the dinner.
That's right. So it's funny. I got dressed this morning and my mom was like, do you need to change your shirt? I was like, why? Like that I had like one of my feminist shirts on that's like not, live stream appropriate. And I was like, what's wrong with it? And she's like, well, what if the people that you're talking to aren't part of the eCom cooperative? I was like, Ma, it's not a big deal. I know, but we wear partner shirts all the time. We're repping Helium 10. We're repping Ping Pong. We're repping eCom cooperative. Somebody else send me a t-shirt.
They should be.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Get with the eCom cooperative. 100%. They're up there doing,
like casino night and dinners and amazing think tank that I just saw Ryan Kramer post about, or maybe I saw Yoni.
You saw everybody. Yeah, Yoni and Aton are up there right now. Ryan's up there. Who else did I just see in pictures? Crap. I'm blanking. Everybody's up there right now.
Frank's of course up there.
Who?
Frank's of course up there.
Oh, duh, Frank's up there. But David and Frank, they have to be there. But yeah, they're doing the eCom cooperative and Prosper show. So they're doing this in conjunction with Prosper, the think tank. They're calling it On the Road. So I'm assuming that they're going to take these think tanks to different major cities, which would be cool. But naturally, it would start in Jersey, right? Like that's where, David and Frank are.
Is it Jersey or New York? Jersey, right?
Oh God, Jersey. I think it's in Jersey. Oh no,
I think it's in Jersey.
Well, where was ASGTG? Because that just happened like 2 days ago. I think that was in New York. And the thing with Think Tank was that if you could go to ASGTG and then like the next day do the Think Tank, or like 2 days later or something like that. And there was a dinner in there somewhere too. But they're so close to each other. It's really just like a subway ride, a ferry ride. I don't know how they're connected.
Yeah.
Never been up there.
You stay in the South. I'll keep the Northeast to myself.
I'll just ride my horse down yonder and do whatever. I never had a horse growing up. They're a lot of work.
Yeah. No, I mean, we, we're on the East Coast, but supply chain does not stay to the U.S. And that's why it's so important that we have SellerLogic on today to talk about Germany and all the fun things that come with European supply chain and the struggles that come along with it too.
Indeed, because nobody's talking about that. They're just talking about like, if you want to expand internationally, go into Germany. There's a market over there. And it's like, okay, well, he's nodding in the background. I can see him. Yeah, let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. So our leader of the day is Daniel Hannig with SellerLogic. Daniel, good morning. Oh, good afternoon to you.
Good morning to you guys. Yeah, it's afternoon here. And by the way, Francois, your shirt looks amazing. I just wanted to say that from the get-go.
It's a great shirt.
It has to be said, guys.
My fiance.
Protect her. Be like, leave that man alone about that shirt. It's a lovely shirt. Anyway, Daniel, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Tell us a little bit just about yourself, about your background, and Also a question, are you originally from Germany? Did you expect to stay there for 6 months and it's 12 years later? Because we hear a lot of that story.
No, I'm half German, half Indonesian. I was born in Indonesia, and we moved around a lot I moved around a lot as a kid because of the job of my father. So I actually grew up in Africa, in Madagascar, and Malawi, and Bangkok. And Germany was basically just after school. I came to Germany for studies. That was back, like, that was a lifetime ago, like 2009 or something. And then I just stayed here for work, and now I'm based in Germany, actually. Yeah, but that's that's how I ended up here. And yeah, regarding my background, I work for SellerLogic. It's a software company for Amazon sellers, and I work in the marketing department. So normally I'm specialized on the English content, but we kind of, we always work very agile to drop the first overused buzzword in this podcast. No, but the thing is, the thing is, we also now in the last few months, I've just been doing a lot of videos for the customer support and for the onboardings and everything, working very intensely with the tool. And everybody was like, Donnie, if you're working so intensively with the tool, why don't you just do the interviews as well? And I was like, yeah, okay, for sure. And that's fine. And that's why I'm allowed to hang out with you guys here today, which I'm very happy about, by the way. So, yeah.
We're very, very happy to have you here too. So when you're doing the videos and stuff, just because I'm also in marketing and I did customer service for so long doing onboarding.
Yeah,
are you talking about like doing the demo videos and like having those in an email drip, or?
Oh, no, it's basically the onboarding videos for our customer success agents is basically we're doing a lot. We're growing quite a lot. And because we don't want to have, we want to have them to it's basically training videos how to use the tool. And if this and this comes in, if the customer asks this and this is exactly what you have to do. And yeah, it's very, I don't know, it's basically training videos. And then I do the same for actual customers. So basically, if they can't get a hold of a customer success agent, we have these videos on a platform where they can just click through and see if that already solves their problem. So there's lots of videos with my voice on them on our website very soon. Hours and hours of me talking about stuff. Great.
But that's great. That's great to have just that library of like education for them, whether it be,
exactly. That's the idea behind it.
Industry specific or just for your tool. That's kind of the whole purpose of our show, is to just provide education and information on all the facets of supply chain and e-commerce. But like Francois said, today is a supply chain conversation. So I expect to do very little talking. No, it's fine. But I mean, just kind of a, from an insider's perspective, I mean, how do I ask this question? Has COVID accelerated e-commerce like tenfold in Germany like it has here in the US?
That's what I wanted to. I knew that it's been accelerated. It is accelerated in the US, and it's been pretty much the same here in Germany as well. And of course, it's great for the e-commerce sellers, of course, because you have a higher reach, you have a bigger platform now. But of course, it also means that there's much more competition, right? And the other problems that come with it, for example, supply chain management is one of them. I want to say from the get-go, I'm not like a real supply chain expert like you guys, but I can definitely tell you what is. But I do live in Germany. I am noticing it firsthand every day, so I can just, as you said, if it's just about like comparing how it is in Germany to America. I'm also interested in that because I don't know how it exactly is in America, but definitely, with the huge surge in e-commerce that's been happening in the past 2-3 years, we've noticed that there are quite a few impediments in the supply chain. Definitely. Yeah.
Well, and is there as much of an interest in getting, like you said, obviously with the growth, it's fantastic, but there's more competition. Is it largely competition from international sellers coming into Germany? So like, all of the US Amazon sellers wanting to expand into Germany, or is there also an interest within the country to start selling online as well? Like it's been huge here.
Yeah, same. It's all, the competition is coming from everywhere. Let's be
all of the above.
There's no way to sugarcoat it, because of course, if people see, hey, e-commerce is booming, the growth has been what? It's been not tenfold, but definitely like 3, 4, 5-fold. If people see like there's a market for it, of course, people like with an entrepreneurial spirit will say, well, you know what, I can sell stuff from Amazon from my own house. And of course they get into that. And of course it's not only people that's like solo entrepreneurs, but people that might have their own supply chain in place, or that might already have a store, but a regular brick and mortar store, but people with a lot of experience also thinking, okay, I'm going to expand to Amazon. And that's the real competition, you know what I mean? The people with like all this background knowledge as well. It's not very much the solo entrepreneur, the student that's going to sell something on the side, but like the big companies or bigger companies, SMEs, expanding into the e-commerce business as well. And they're coming from everywhere. In Germany, of course, but also in Spain, there's been a huge surge in sellers as well. And of course, the people that are expanding from the US, for example, onto the German market. And I think at the end of the day, growth is always good, right? And I think it was just at the end of the day, I think it'll be great to see once it's all petered out, once we've got all these other things under control. I think it's going to be good for e-commerce. But at the moment, there's a lot of problems to face or challenges to face.
I bet. Well, and just out of curiosity too, is Amazon the largest e-commerce marketplace in Germany, or is there another native one that's more popular?
No, Amazon's the biggest one by far. I mean, really by really far. We have a couple of, I don't know, have you guys heard of Zalando, maybe? Zalando or Otto or something? They're the biggest ones in Germany.
Okay.
No, yeah, but exactly.
I've heard of is it in Spain? Lazada? Is that in Spain?
Zara is also big, but in Germany, like when it comes to e-commerce platforms, definitely it's Zalando and Otto. But as I said, people are like, so who that though? And I'm like, I know exactly, but everybody knows Amazon, and Amazon is the biggest player here for sure, absolutely. What is also being big, Etsy, you guys do know Etsy though, right?
Yes.
They're big here in Germany as well. They have been blowing up. Immensely in Germany as well. But of course, it's like Etsy is like more in Germany, at least it's more like artisan, handmade.
That's kind of their whole thing. And we actually looked this up not long ago because we were curious as to what could be sold. There's only I'd have to find it again, but there's a certain amount of it that can be mass produced, but the rest either has to be like hand assembly or handmade or crafted or personalized. Or I remember we looked that up not long ago. They've changed it a little bit over the years. But you're right. It is still very much so like handmade artisan goods. Like if you need anything for a wedding ever with everybody's names on it, that's where you go. Like it just all the custom goods.
And I saw that they also are restructuring their pricing model. I think I saw somewhere that they increased the processing fee or something like that by 75%.
Etsy?
That's what they're doing as well. That's there's been an increase in America as well. Is that true? Because FBA, I think it was, or something.
I definitely want to talk to you about that. Can you tell us? Because here, I mean, it's I think it's going to be a growing topic of conversation. Everyone has started to, receive the emails, but no one's really figuring out how is this going to play into my pricing model, right?
Right.
These impacts that I have down the road, for example, for FBA processing, or if my package is now considered oversized and Amazon is charging you even more surcharge for oversized items, and FBA fees are changing, and all these different aspects. Can you talk a little bit about how that's happening in Germany?
Yeah, it's basically the same. It's basically the same thing. Well, the first thing that happened is Amazon also invested a lot into the German market. I think it was where was it, in Augsburg or something, where they had actually closed a fulfillment center, but then reopened it, and then also employed 250 more employees and everything. You saw that there was a lot of money coming into Germany, but then all of a sudden you will also see that the fees were going to rise again. And but it's too early to say. We can't see with our clients. We have around like 3,000, 4,000 clients, and we can always like see trends happening by the way they either switch from FBA to FBM, or if we see that the FBA numbers are going down, we're like, okay, so a lot of people are switching, and maybe have their own deliveries or something in place. But nothing's been happening so far. So I think people are still, as you said, Francois, trying to figure out how is this going to affect me, and is it going to affect me in such a way that it would make sense to do my own delivery, do my own shipping. Because at the end of the day, I mean, FBA is vital, especially if you're selling. Especially in Germany, it is for sure for professional sellers, because first of all, your seller rating is highly dependent on it because of the customer support that Amazon provides, the shipping, the inventory and everything. That's something you can do in Germany, but it's very hard to do it on the level that Amazon does. And so it's so I think if these fees were to become horrendously high, that would be a big problem for sellers, definitely. but I can't really see. I'm not really seeing a trend yet, but I think it will become a problem. I don't know where people are going to pivot then. Well, of course, they're probably going to pivot to FBM, but that's the only thing I could imagine.
Yeah, there's got to be, as a consumer, some sort of inflection point, right? Where it's, hey, we've grown globally. I think so accustomed to Amazon's model of next day or 2-day shipping. It's just a standard across all industries.
Right,
But
right. It's a high standard.
It is a very high standard that they
Yeah.
set. But I think there is going to come a point where, as consumers, we say, hey, we see that it is a 10%, a 15%, a 20% difference of ordering something and getting it next day, truly next day, versus waiting 3 or 4 days. Are you seeing 3PLs on the rise in Germany as well?
To be completely honest, I don't know. I think what I'm much more seeing than third-party deliveries is third-party services is more a shift in the German mentality, in the consumer mentality, to say I would rather wait longer, maybe 3 days or 4 days for my package, but and in comparison, and on top of that, I would rather have stuff inventory, in stocked inventory. I'd rather have something, because that's a problem we've been having, that so many things are just not available anymore. Exactly, that I think there's this kind of shift in mentality that people are thinking, no, I'd rather wait longer, but then rather have everything available at the same time. But I think 3PL has been I don't know if there's a surge. I don't think so, not yet, because I think most of the people are still using the Amazon services for sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Is it been like that in America? Is it?
It's especially over the past couple of years. And I mean, we're seeing everything rise from real estate costs to availability, and 3PLs are saying, hey, we don't have capacity. So these sellers just don't know where to turn to. So it turns into a very hot topic button of conversation where you have to find out who is this new partner that can hold, let's say, instead of the standard shipping directly into Amazon FBA, who can hold 3 months of inventory for me so I can replenish FBA, and then I can replenish my 3PL. But I think that sort of segues directly into challenges in supply chain that you've been noticing maybe in Germany. Can you talk us through some of these?
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, I mean, when did they begin? I think they began like 2 years ago with COVID. Definitely, absolutely, because I might think that people in America also source from the same place in Germany. A lot of German sellers, they source from China and Pakistan. Is that the same? It's the same, right? Yeah, exactly.
Very
and
similar.
Yeah, right. And of course, then you would have the first problems that were occurring then in China. I mean, next to COVID is, of course, the factories shutting down, or you had typhoons and stuff like that. And then, of course, that's when the supply chain started breaking down at the first 2 years ago, right? And then what else was there? Like unfavorable navigation maneuvers in the Suez Canal. If you guys remember that thing, that wasn't great. That
is
supply chain either.
The most eloquent way that's ever been phrased. That's my favorite.
Yeah, I was like, I just saw the video. I was like, yo, what happened there though?
She got stuck.
Yeah. No, but exactly in the way that was shown here is that people couldn't restock anymore, and that's a funny thing. That's a trend that we could actually see with our customers. What they would then do is the things that they couldn't restock directly. They would we have this pricing optimization tool that we sell to our customers. What they would do is they would take these the items and price the ones that they couldn't restock directly really high. And the other items that they could replace easily, they would sell them at a lower price. So basically, nudging the customers to get to buy the stuff that could easily be replaced. So that's something we saw. But that's how they handled it. But definitely, and the thing is now the supply chains. You thought it might get better because you thought, well, we might adapt to the circumstance, and then war in Ukraine, second historic event, and then again, and that's the thing. For Amazon, I mean, for people that are selling on Amazon, definitely, it's definitely a challenge. But you can see that in normal, everyday actions. I don't, did you guys have the problem with the toilet paper as well in
Oh
America?
yeah. Oh yeah. Of
Oh
course.
yes.
How is that an intercontinental thing, man? I mean, yeah, that was so weird. But of course, now we do have toilet paper again in Germany, also wide varieties. But now we're missing cooking oil, for example. That's a direct result of the Ukraine conflict. And even last time I wanted to get something. I wanted to buy. I don't know the English word. It's like a replacement for a thing in my heater. And I was calling the contractor. I was like, "Hey man, I need this and this and this." And they're like, "Oh no, we can't sell that to you now." I'm like, "Why?" It's like, because we source those things from the Ukraine. And that's just one. And that's just one example. You know, and for me, it's okay. Now I don't have this replacement for my heater. But if there's a business that actually revolves around having these spare parts for heaters, you're gonna have a bad time, man. And that's and that's something that is definitely. This is like a real world example, but it's something that's directly transferable to the e-commerce market as well. Because it might be that, you know, there's a seller that also needs to sell these spare parts, but they can't get them because the only place where to get the good quality ones or the best quality ones is in Ukraine right now. So
yeah, it's very hard. My dad owned a heating and air company for a number of years, and his kind of, I don't know what you'd call him. I always just called him like his right-hand guy. He bought the company off of him, and you know, my dad's still very involved, and it's impossible to get everything that you need for, you know, furnaces and air conditioners right now, just because they're not able to actually get the materials to get anything fixed. The wait time on parts is so long, and then of course the prices are jacked way up. My friend texted me, she was like, "Hey, do you know anybody in heating and air?" I'm like, "I know plenty of people, but what do you need?" Like, I can't promise anything faster or cheaper, huh?
Right.
Seems like an opportunity, especially going into summer here in the US. It seems like, you know, if you are a brand that sells, let's say, portable air conditioners for several rooms, or something like cooling blankets because you can't, you know, cool down your house. It seems like a great opportunity, and hopefully it's something that brands are paying attention to, how the markets are affecting their products. Right? I mean, ultimately, it goes into even planning and inventory that they might need, and you know, having those market shifts and the supply chain shortages on certain parts are definitely huge opportunities.
Absolutely.
Now, for something like the Suez Canal, and that affected everyone globally, but particularly in Germany and the European market as a whole, what types of corrections, I guess, did you see some of your customers taking right after that?
Yeah. Well, I think because we like our portfolio has, I think it has 2 tools, so there's not so, and we don't have like the hugest amount of customers ever. But I think the one thing that I told you right now, the corrections that they did is everything that you can do, and I mean with pricing, right? And pricing can influence your business strategy a lot. They did that with our tool. You would see people putting in, we call them events. It's basically just strategies. You know, they would put these strategies in place where, as I just said, they would increase the prices of the things where they knew that getting a replacement is going to be super difficult, and lower the prices on other items. That is the main thing that we saw. Other than that, I don't really know, like, because as I said, we're not really a tool that specializes on supply chains, but anything that has to do with pricing, I think that was the main action that happened. I don't know. Because at the end of the day, I mean, what can you do, right? I mean, if that ship is stuck, that ship is stuck. The best thing you can do,
and that's what I have a question about. And this is a purely like newbie question. So, you know, looking at the US on a map, you can, you know, access it by boat, California and the East Coast. So that's where all of our ports are. But with so much of Europe, and I'm looking on a map because I had to be sure I wasn't crazy and that Germany wasn't landlocked. Does every country kind of just have a bunch of ports along their coasts? Like, so you're able to actually ship directly into Germany then? You guys have seaports there. Okay.
The biggest seaport we have is definitely in Hamburg. And there are probably other ones as well, which I'm not familiar with. But everybody knows the Hamburg seaport, of course. And of course, also a lot goes over airplanes and everything. So it's not necessarily only bound to ships, but also air cargo and stuff like that.
Do you guys have the same problem that we have here of there's just a bunch of boats sitting in the water waiting to be unloaded? Do you have the same like labor issue that we're having right now?
Regarding the labor, issue. We had that with not with boats, but with trucks. And it started in, I don't know if you guys heard that, it started in Great Britain, and then it kind of moved on to Europe as well, and then torpedoed in a very literal sense by the war in Ukraine as well. That the trucking routes were just blocked, or that the truckers simply said, no, I'm not driving into Ukraine. Do I look crazy to you? It's like, okay, understandable. And yeah, that's maybe something similar, maybe. But the one with the concrete example with the boats or with the ships, I wouldn't know about that, actually. No.
I think it must not be happening then, because I think if it was the situation in Germany like it is here, you would definitely know about it.
Yeah. I mean, we have it blasted all over our news, and containers and boats sitting at the ports, and the surcharges that also plays into pricing. Is that, and I guess it's harder to know if you don't have the supply chain tool built out, but are you noticing, to sort of pivot, when sellers are raising their prices, particularly on Amazon in Germany, are they affected anyway, or are they reprimanded by Amazon for saying, hey, you have a sudden price change and that's not permitted, or that goes against our standards of policy, whatever the case is?
That does happen, of course, but what I can say from our customers is that most customers that start using something like a price optimization tool, and that's also what I'm reading like in the forums and everything, they are already quite adept in that topic, because there's certain thresholds that Amazon provides for sellers, and our tool recognizes them. And I think we can also just literally check what those thresholds are. And if you go over them, of course, well, then you're kind of forcing their hand. And of course, they're going to, being the customer-centric company that they are going to, of course, reprimand you. But what we do, for example, is we tell our customers to not do that. Because first of all, if you go so high up with the price, okay, right, you might make a pretty penny off of it, but you're going to lose the buy box, you're going to lose visibility, and then of course at the end of the day you're going to lose revenue. If it's up to you you say you only want to sell 20 of these items for a really high price, then go ahead. But if you're thinking sustainably, then the best thing to do is to not go over that threshold, stay in the buy box as long as possible, and have the price range that will of course get you over a longer period of time. And then, of course, will make you more money. But yeah, we've heard definitely that a lot of people are getting reprimanded for setting too high prices. Yeah. I have a question actually. So, if I can go back, because I was so interested in the story, and then we kind of drifted off. Why is it that the boats are in the harbor? It's because of the surcharges, you said, Francois, or what was that?
So it's a knock-on effect that we've been seeing, and I think it's a lack of knowledge of supply chain from a lot of very high up people, honestly, like way higher than even the standard business owner or an enterprise. And it's really starting at the fact that they first predicted that there would not be a big surge in e-commerce. They thought there was going to be a dip in e-commerce. Right. And so a lot of businesses just stopped placing orders from China, from India, Pakistan, wherever those countries are. Right. Because they were anticipating, not having to sell. And all of a sudden, everything opened back up at once. And all these businesses started placing their orders at the exact same time, and significantly larger orders. While there were still all these COVID challenges overseas in China and in India, Pakistan, again, all these Asian countries primarily. The challenge with that is when everyone places the exact same order at the exact same time, and it's larger than they've seen even in the past, then all the containers that can potentially be used all of a sudden all need to be allocated to this. Right. And when there's not enough trade between the US and China, there's not enough going back from the US at least to China. And that's part of a lot of the policies that they're talking about putting in place about, making it more fair trade and having higher imports. Well, a lot of the containers, they don't necessarily want to hold here in the US. So they're sending empty containers back to China. But to even take a step back, when all these boats are coming in, again, at the exact same time to the exact same ports that they've always came into, there starts to be some traffic. Because the ports are also not 24/7. So, and not only the ports not being 24/7, the warehouses are not 24/7. And if you want to get even more granular, the chassis, so the the back part of the truck that the containers actually go on need to go to the warehouse. The warehouses are overloaded because they can't unload, so they can't unload more product. So the chassis is stuck there. So there could be a full container or an empty container on the chassis that could be used to offload more containers from the ports, because the ports are also backed up because they're stacked, and they raise their limits for how high they could even stack containers to try to keep up with this. So it's just this knock-on effect of problem after problem after problem after problem that no one really, everyone relied on this just-in-time manufacturing. Now everyone's pivoting to, we have to have something even more in place, larger orders again, more demand from the ports, more demand from the truck drivers, more demand from the 3PLs, demand that they never sort of had the foresight to predict. And so that ultimately led to, and these are, 60, 70, 80 boats on the water carrying tens of thousands of containers each. The ports having thousands of containers just waiting there, truckers waiting in both sides of the line, trying to come out and trying to go in. So it's so much more than just a labor shortage. It's a infrastructure issue. And that's why it's so interesting to hear about, how other countries are handling it, because China's 24/7, just like everything else. China is 24/7 with their ports. They don't stop shipping out containers. That's going to cause a problem for countries, particularly like here in the US, that have those limitations.
Same in Germany as well. I mean, do you guys remember now that China's in a hard lockdown, and I think also Shanghai, and especially of course the Shanghai harbor. You remember with that? I think that happened end of March or something, and you noticed that directly. Imagine it's just one harbor in a completely different country, but it goes until it shuts down because of lockdown, and then all of a sudden everything goes, how do you say, topsy-turvy? Is that it?
That is the phrase.
I'm gonna just say it, like 50-50 chance it's gonna be really weird, or it's gonna be okay.
It's not weirder than half of the stuff that I say. I would have gone with cattywampus, and then I usually get a weird look. But topsy-turvy is definitely appropriate. Yeah.
I mean, even when you look into like Shanghai, I mean, think about it's a lockdown, and everyone just thinks, oh, Shanghai's in lockdown. Well, that means the ports are limited. That means that the truck drivers trying to get from city to city are limited, and that's going to cause a backlog of truck drivers being able to transport containers from factories to the ports and back from the ports to the factories. It just it impacts everyone globally, and that's why I'm so confused every time that the topic of inventory shortages or truck driver shortages comes up. Why people are focused on an isolated event instead of trying to find the root cause of it. And the only way to find the root cause is just keep up with the global market of supply chain. Sign up to Supply Chain Brain. Sign up to Let's Talk Supply Chain with Sarah Barnes-Humphries. There are so many resources out there that primarily talk to large enterprises, but they affect every single seller that's on Amazon, on Shopify, on anything globally. It's crazy.
Crazy.
Seamless plugs for friends in there, Francois. You also forgot Supply Chain Now. They're some of the best in the business.
They are,
man.
They are. Greg and Scott, awesome. But no, I think, and just to pivot a little bit, and obviously supply chain is a big topic here. It plays directly into pricing, but one big thing that we've been noticing with the raising competition in the US, and that's just because we're ignorant to everywhere else, is PPC and the rise in PPC costs and how that plays into pricing. Right? Are you noticing a big rise in PPC costs over the past year and a half in Germany as well?
Absolutely, and we see it a lot. I think I even had it in one of my former webinars, and it was very exemplary of how people are turning to PPC. So this viewer just gave me like a use case, and I was like, yo, I've seen that use case 1,000 times. It's like, we were selling something organically, was going really, really well. And then all of a sudden we hiked the prices, of course, because I mean, of course you want to sell more of something going well, something, and all of a sudden there was a complete breakdown. There was a complete we couldn't sell anything anymore, like from one day to the next. Like the organic sales went down by 50%. And the next thing we did, of course, is we employed PPC ad campaigns in order to artificially bring that back up again and to make a little bit of money with that. It's like, what am I supposed to do? And I'm like, I don't know. I can assume what happened, but I don't know if that's gonna. But I thought like what happened there was like the classic case of hiking your price up too high and losing the buy box, losing that visibility, and then trying to artificially keep it up with PPC ad campaigns. And then I just said, hey, try to bring the price back down a little bit, even lower than before. And then just like in successive mini steps, hike the price back up to where you were before. And then you can also go higher, but just do it like with cents, with not like directly €2 or €4, because then you're going to lose the buy box. But it was the thing, coming back to your question, sorry, I drift off sometimes a little bit when I start talking about. But exactly, the rise in PPC, and it was so interesting to see that the first reaction was not, well, maybe I should go down with the price, but the first reaction was, you know what, I'm going to employ PPC ad campaigns. And I think that's the thing that's if you guys say it's been the same in America, I think maybe it's the real internet. It's like been an international trend. Yeah, is it?
Yeah, it is. That's everybody's first reaction, is just like dumping more and more and more money into PPC,
Right.
and it doesn't always fix it. Like we've had so many conversations about PPC on this podcast and on all the other shows, and it's just like, yeah, to a certain point, it's going to help you, but like if you don't have the inventory, if you don't have a quality product, like you're throwing money down the drain. There's diminishing returns with it at a certain point in time. It's just there's just too much.
Yeah. It's like you said, Lisa, you said you work in marketing, right? So like in marketing, we also have like SEO, and in Germany we call it SEO and SEA, so search engine advertising. And I think like PPC ad campaigns, I don't know if this is just my subjective opinion. It's like the most how you handle your business. That's the SEO. That's like 90% of the business, and the PPC ad campaigns should just be for the last 10% that you can't do organically, that you can't get organically. But nowadays I'm thinking like as you said, people just start dumping money directly on PPC ad campaigns as a first measure, and I think you should at least try to leverage other ones as well. But I mean, it's their business, so it's fine. But but it's interesting that you guys are seeing the same trend. Wow.
Oh yeah.
I
think that our markets are more similar than we realize. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I feel like it's, and I forgot who told me, I think it might've been Tim when we were just talking, but it's PPC is one of those things where if you turn it off, are you going to get any sales? And if you get no sales, then you're focusing on the wrong thing, right? You're not focusing on your brand. You're not focusing on the listing optimization. You're not focusing on the imagery of representing your product. There's so many small things that you could be doing to make those organic sales before focusing on spending money within PPC, because that money only goes so far, right? You have supply chain challenges, and immediately you have to raise your prices, so you have to dump more into PPC, and then you have to. And it all comes down to just a knock-on effect. And I hope that all the challenges that we've talked about today and that we've seen over the past 2 years of the pandemic is going to force a lot of these companies to mature and think about these more agile, like you said, more agile, more cross-functional. Hey, how does logistics play into marketing? How does marketing play into operations?
Right.
So hopefully we see that. But are you noticing a lot of sellers expand to other marketplaces outside of Amazon and Germany, like we are here in the US?
To be completely honest, not really. I've seen more people actually focus on the market, the Swiss, Austria, Germany. But I don't know if it's the thing to do with products, but most of our clients, I mean, we as a company, of course, we try to expand everywhere we can, of course, but most of the sellers that actually we don't see them switch to markets or expand to other markets that often, especially not internationally for some reason. I don't know. So I think that's maybe the first difference we're seeing today, maybe because you're saying that a lot of people in America or the US are expanding to the European market, specifically Germany. Maybe it's because and maybe that's the reason why the Germans aren't really expanding either, because there's a lot of now I don't know the English word, Kaufkraft, like buying power, or what again?
I was just going to say foreign competition, but no, buying power is absolutely right.
Buying power is right.
But foreign competition is of course also that's also a reason. And I think the Germans or the German sellers already have enough on their hands selling here in Germany. I think it's going to take a while for them to say, like, you know what, I should try this somewhere else as well. So no, to be honest, like, I don't think I haven't really seen that trend yet. Who knows what's going to happen in half a year, you know? Yeah.
Well, and there's another trend here in the US about maybe differentiating the countries that you're sourcing from. So like you said, a lot of the German sellers are sourcing from China, Pakistan, India, and American sellers are too, or sellers in the US, I guess I should say. But there's a big movement to actually start sourcing out of Mexico, and shameless plug to Amy Lees and her sourcing from Mexico trip. But we kind of have that advantage of, okay, sourcing from China, you know, the initial costs are going to be a little lower by way of, like, you know, unit cost and labor and things like that. But then you have obviously the shipping costs and the wait time and things like that. But if we ship from Mexico, oh yeah, the risk, the Suez Canal, things catching on fire, whatever. But sourcing from Mexico for us, it's you don't have the ocean travel, you know, so it's much easier for us. Is there any kind of interest in the German market of sourcing from places other than, you know, the usual?
Interest, yes, but it's not. Well, the main factor here is, of course, costs. You know, in China, sourcing from China, the reason why so many people are doing it is because they make the most profit with it. And of course, now with all the supply chain, and that's also a thing that's maybe happening. A trend is that people are looking for to source locally, but we don't have, like in Mexico. Exactly. We don't have that. We don't have something similar to Mexico here. Maybe Poland, maybe Spain, but then again, of course, exactly the same thing that you said. There's less risk. There's not. The shipping is much shorter. It's very easy to maybe meet your manufacturer in person, have a look at the products. You don't have to fly all the way to China. But the reason why most people aren't doing it is because of the prices. The Chinese prices are just unbeatable at the moment. That's why most people are still staying there despite heavy lockdowns and all the rest.
Yeah. I mean, logistically, also, China has more options going into Germany. They have the rail system, for example, that goes all the way. It used to go all the way into the UK, and it would have stops here and there throughout the EU. But speaking of the UK, when all of that happened, when they decided to break apart, did you notice any large challenges for sellers in the EU?
You mean Brexit? Sorry,
Brexit. You're talking about Brexit?
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. It's just I think with the whole pan-EU programs and everything, how you're selling to the UK, a lot of people. Well, yeah, all the people that either imported or sourced from the UK or had UK as a market, they're thinking, like, okay, what's going to happen now? How is this going to affect me? And it was very much it was very much a panic for those sellers, absolutely. And I think now I'm not even really sure how the programs have adapted to it, but it's definitely went much better than everyone expected. But I think the initial reaction was like, okay, that's it. We're gonna lose the UK as a market, and that would have been terrible. That would have been absolutely.
I remember that kind of being the fear when everything started out. They were like, well, we can't. That's gone. Just that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, no, it's and SellerLogic. Does SellerLogic work with all of EU, or is it focused in Germany?
No, it's we work with all of EU. We're now expanding into Spain a lot. We tried expanding into the UK, but that went harder than expected. We don't really know how. But then I heard from all other companies like, oh yeah, UK, you don't just simply expand into the UK. I'm like, okay, well then I guess other people are having trouble with that as well. But apart from that, we're also expanding in France. And now, I mean, since Anastasia, my team colleague, and me started in the marketing for the English content, we've been writing a lot of English blog articles that have been also quite popular in the US for some reason of all markets. And of course, now we're getting traffic as well from US and also our first clients. But I wouldn't say this is no expansion yet at all. But we're heavily focused. We're mainly focused on on the German markets, because our founder used to be an Amazon seller, quite a successful one actually. So he knows and only on the German market. So he knows the German market in and out. And so that's kind of our base, definitely. But yeah, of course, we're trying to expand as much as possible. Yeah.
I wonder if the reviews, and it's probably the same across the board, but I don't think we've ever asked this question. The terms of service on Amazon.com seem to always be changing, and it's really hard to keep up with. And there's so many rules around like reviews and stuff. Is it as difficult to stay on top of for Germany? Jesus, Amazon Germany.
Knowing the Germans and how they love their rules, I'm just going to say yes.
Okay.
I can't say for sure, but the terms of services for Amazon B, they're going to be, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's going to be similar.
Gotcha. Okay.
Why is it really that difficult in America? Why are they changing so constantly? Is it because now it's just such a volatile time, or has it always been like that for the terms of services?
It's a great question. You've been around longer than I have, Francois. I don't know.
What I've seen, it's always been sort of there's a lot of gray area and a lot of terms of service that they write. So it's always, I think they just make the gray area and they see how sellers react to it. How can they sort of violate these terms of service most likely? Yeah. And then they sort of double down. Hey, based on this gray area, we're going to make these specific clarifications. Your language, your verbiage in the postcards, for example, can only be X, Y, Z, and it can't lead to any external links and all these different things.
That sounds like a toxic relationship. It's like, here's the test. Depending on how you respond.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, it's an opportunity. That's the point of capitalism, right? They provide a service, they can do whatever they want with it, but ultimately it is a toxic relationship. Hey, we're going to make you very successful and you're going to sell as much as you can, but we're going to tell you exactly how you can do it. And you're not going to have any insights into the customers. They are our customers.
Yeah.
But where else? Oh, go ahead.
No, I think it does make sense though what you said, especially like in a dynamic environment like e-commerce. I think it does make sense that the terms of services would change on a regular basis, definitely, because so much is just happening, and I guess.
Well, where I was going with before with asking, if you service most of the EU is. We were talking to someone not too long ago, and I might have talked to someone about it at Prosper as well, but there is sometimes this topic of, well, I sell it for $20 on Amazon.com or in Canada. Can I just use a repricer, not necessarily a repricer, but a converter, and just say, hey, it's going to sell for X euros in Germany? Is that how it works?
I think, well, the way our repricer works is that it directly converts into the currency of the country. For example, if you would be, is that your question? I mean, because
it's more so, do you think a seller should be selling the same price just using a converter across all markets?
Using, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part.
Are you asking about the perceived value of a product? Like if we value,
I guess that's a better way to put it.
If we from my perspective, if there's a really nice tea set, with teacups and saucers and whatever, that would sell for much. I don't know if it would sell for higher or lower in somewhere that drinks a lot of tea. You wouldn't be able to price that the same because we don't have the same value. Perceived value of that product here. I think that's kind of the question.
Well, I guess that would depend on the product, of course. I mean, if arbitrage is exactly how if you know that this tea set would sell much better in Italy because they love the logo or whatever, I think of course you should price it higher. But our tool is definitely not able to do that. So basically to see what item that is, and then basically give you a suggestion. Hey, you should sell that in Finland for 200 kronen or something like that, because we know that that is a trend there. So no, what our tool does is basically it can directly convert into the currency of the country. So I would sell, and that's definitely where you have to watch out, because if you say you're selling something for 20 euros in Germany, but then you want to sell it in Poland, and the repricer will say, well, we're going to go ahead and sell that for 20 zloty. That would be a bad deal. So that's something that you definitely have to take into account. But yeah, I think you should definitely take into or do some research and see how things are trending in different countries and price them differently as well. Absolutely. Yeah.
And what logic can they set behind logic?
Yeah.
SellerLogic.
Nice.
Ah.
Cool.
Can they
Okay.
set behind the repricing itself?
How do you mean? Like what kind of logic? Like, do you mean like the method of selling, or how do you?
Yeah, well, more so like, for example, if I set it to, let's say I convert it from the US to US dollars to euros, and it does a conversion, and I start out with that conversion, let's just say 10 euros. Right. Are you able to set some sort of logic of, hey, I'd like to bring down this price every so often if I'm not hitting these target numbers?
Absolutely. You know what? Let's say how our algorithm works is actually quite straightforward. Is you start selling on the marketplace for a certain price, and you have a certain price range. You say, okay, I'm going to sell for the lowest price that I can just make a healthy profit, but I don't want to go under that is 5 euros. The highest is 15. That's the range you give the repricer. And in that range, that's where the repricer operates. And you can tell the repricer to what exactly you want to do. Do you want to sell as much as possible? Then you would go for the strategy, get the buy box as often as possible. What the repricer would then do is basically check what is the price with which you can win the buy box definitely, and that's of course the most competitive price. It would then start off by taking the price down, but then afterwards it wouldn't stay there. Once you have the buy box, it would just send signals to Amazon. What if I hike the price up by 10 cents? Will I still be in the buy box? Amazon gives you a signal, yes, you will. It hikes the price. And then what happens if I hike the price up by 10 more cents? You'll still be in the buy box. And it keeps on repeating that process until at some point Amazon says, if you go any higher, you're going to lose the buy box, you're going to lose visibility, you're not going to make any sales, and you're going to probably have to employ PPC ad campaigns. No, but exactly. And at the end of the day, right, yeah, you're going to be selling at the highest price. In the best case scenario, selling at the highest price possible while still in the buy box. So that's the idea behind it. How most of our sellers sell.
Yeah, that makes sense, because I mean, I think a big struggle that a lot of sellers have typically is knowing how to price it, right? They might start off, and just like, the case that you were talking about, where they immediately just lost a lot of their organic sales. It seems logical, really, to have these incremental sales and ask, almost for permission of, hey, am I allowed to bring this up a little bit and maintain, my status? Does the price? Do you ever see price increase correlate directly to their growth in their BSR?
What's the BSR? Sorry, I don't know.
The bestseller rank.
Oh, right. Yeah, absolutely. No, actually, that's one of our strategies. That's one of our strategies as well, that you can also go for the ranking, for example, or positioning, we call it more. For example, we have a lot of people go for the second position, and I'm like, why would you stop there, right? And then it's like, and that's mainly, sometimes it's because they're directly competing with Amazon. Amazon is always on rank 1, and they want to compete with everyone else except for Amazon. And that's why the second rank. So yeah, bestseller ranking, of course, it's actually one of the metrics that our repricer takes into account when pricing the items as well. So how good is the competition? How do they rank? How many positive reviews do they? How many reviews in general do they have, and how many of those are positive? And then you can basically filter out what competitors are actually worth observing. Like, for example, maybe you're on a listing with 10 people, 7 of them are absolute trash, but of course you don't want the repricer to take those into account, but you want to take into account the 3 with the good seller ranking, with the positive reviews, and the ones using FBA, something like that. So yeah, definitely. So the BSC, I learned something today. BSR. Okay, so the BSR is definitely taken into account. Yeah, with our repricer for sure. Yeah.
Well, and since we're coming to the end of the episode, and on the topic of reviews, I know that you mentioned beforehand that you have an upcoming webinar with the eCom Engine team.
No, that's not me. No. Actually, I was just watching. I just got it into my email, and they are holding a webinar on supply chain issues. And I was like, okay, because we're partners, I thought maybe we could just, and I know that you guys are also friendly with those guys, with the eCommerce people. So I think it's Sean Shanahan holding the webinar. and it's
Okay.
exactly on the topic of supply chain and how you can actually help or basically confront those problems and work out those challenges. So I just thought maybe for people that are watching this webinar, if they want to get more into detail, you can watch the one with Sean on, I think, next Monday or something. I don't know.
Perfect. Okay. I misunderstood. I thought you were speaking in it. I was like, well, we definitely have to link it. But Becky and Colleen are friends, so we'll give them a plug anyway.
Yeah, they're great. Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, so at the end of the episode, we always give our guests an opportunity to kind of plug the business and just give us like a, overview of what it is that you do, the service you offer, and then also kind of a ideal client persona.
Okay.
What does a best fit client look like for you? I can still never figure out how to phrase that question.
But I got it. It's it was phrased perfectly. So basically what we do at SellerLogic is we build software for Amazon sellers, and we have this price optimization tool that I was talking about, but also a reimbursement tool. So basically you're selling over FBA, Amazon loses your stuff or breaks your stuff or whatever, and then you can get your reimbursements, but you don't want to fill out the 300 forms that go with it. Then you can also use our tool to go ahead and get your money back. And our perfect client persona is I wouldn't say perfect. I mean, we're happy about every single customer we have, but I think most of our clients start using the Repricer after like around 60 SKUs, because that's the threshold where you can't have everything under control anymore. And that's when you need a software solution or some sort of automation to keep your hands free for the more important stuff, like maybe working on your listing, checking your PPC, or maybe just taking a well-deserved nap or something like that. That's why, yeah.
And then for the reimbursement, Amazon's lost your stuff. Let's go find it, get your money back. Is that exclusively for the European FBAs or no?
It's international. It's definitely international.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not for the European. Most of our clients are from Europe for the FBA, but not all of them, of course. And it's the tool works perfectly everywhere.
Gotcha. Yeah. Perfect. Well, again, their website, well, maybe not again. If anybody needs more information, they can visit sellerlogic.com. It is going to be linked in the audio and the video description as always, and it's on the screen right now if you guys go to the YouTube channel. Daniel, thank you so much. This has been an awesome conversation.
This has been great. It's great for me. It was really fun, guys. Really, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for coming on, and thank you for everybody who tuned in today. If you guys liked what you heard, be sure to give us a thumbs up, comment with your thoughts, share this episode with your friends, subscribe to the show, and be sure to turn on those notifications, and that way you never miss a conversation with leaders in supply chain and e-commerce like Daniel with SellerLogic. And we will see you all again on Monday. Have a fabulous weekend. Enjoy hopefully some sunshine and warm weather like we're getting in Atlanta right now, at least. And we'll talk to everybody again soon. Bye.
Bye, guys.